Hello everyone. Today let's solve the Leetcode problem number 435, non-overlapping intervals. So what the question says, given an array of intervals, nothing but intervals, this one, where intervals of I equals start of I comma end of I, where intervals of I equals start of I comma end of I, nothing but this, return the minimum number of intervals you need to remove to make the rest of the intervals non-overlapping. We have to return the minimum number of intervals, right? We need to remove to make the rest of the intervals non-overlapping. This one we have to keep in head. So example, they have given intervals 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4 and 1, 3. So then output that we got is 1. Why 1? 1, 3 can be removed and rest of the intervals are non-overlapping, right? 1, 3, that means 1, 3 is overlapping here, right? So 1, 3 can be removed and rest of the intervals are non-overlapping. So the output that we got is 1. Here same thing goes with the example 2 as well. So let's write the code and try to understand with the example 1. So initially what I'll do, I'll just come here. Let's start writing the code. So first step is, if there are no intervals, if no intervals exist at all, so if there are no intervals here, if there are no intervals, then no overlaps exist at all, right? So then we will return 0 in that case. So let me make use of if condition for this. This is simple. I'll just give if intervals, nothing but if length of the intervals is undefined. In this case, what we will do, we will return 0. Right. Next, what we will do, we will sort the intervals by their n times. So second element of the each interval. So we are sorting the intervals by their n times, not the start time. We are sorting the intervals by their n time. Second element of the each interval. Nothing but this one here. We are sorting the intervals by their n time. Second element of the each interval. Right. This one. So let me come here, intervals dot sort, will be sorting in the ascending order by the n times, nothing but the second element of the each interval. For second element, how can we write? How can we sort? A of 1 we can directly give, right? A of 1, B of 1. Right, this is fair. Next, what we will do, we'll initialize the total to count the number of overlaps and previous to track the previous interval. This is fine. Initialization is nothing but, so we will give total, we will initialize total to 0 and previous to intervals of 0, nothing but the first element. So this is fair. What we have done in the last step, we have initialized total to count the number of overlaps and previous to track the previous interval. Fine. Next, we will loop through the intervals starting from the second one. Starting from the second one means this one. So I think, just give me a second. Yeah, let's loop through the intervals starting from the second one. Let me make use of the for loop. Let n equals 1, then length of the intervals, plus. This is fine. Next, if the end time of the previous is greater than the start time of the current interval, then what we'll do, we know that the overlap exists, so we will increment the total by 1. So again, if the end time of the previous, here in this case, this will be previous, right? This is the end time. This is start time 1. This is end time. This will be previous and this will be initial one. So this will, you can consider this one as current one, right? Or intervals of current interval. So this one you can consider as current interval. This one you can consider as previous. So what if the end time of the previous? I'm just considering this example. If the end time of previous, this one, if the end time of previous is greater than the start time of the current interval. Start time is this, greater than the start time of the current interval, and overlap exists, so we are incrementing the total. This is simple. How can we write this one in the code? We can just make use of the if condition. here previous of 1, nothing but previous of 0 and 1. Previous of 1 is greater than intervals of iterated value, this one, I and 0 we can take, right? So previous 1 greater than intervals of I and 0. Sorry, this has to be 0. Then what we will do? We will increment the total, right? So this is simple. Next, else what we will do? We will update the previous to the current interval. So how can we write that one in code? I'll just take previous equals iterated value of the intervals. So this is fine. So somewhere I missed something. Just give me a second.
So the button in the milk and period after that.
So here, this has to be, this is for loop, this one, right? This has to be, this braces has to be here. So sorry. Let me format the code once. So what we have done here, else we are updating the previous to the current interval, right? We are just updating the previous to the current interval, nothing but in this case 1, 2, right? So next what we will do, the final step, we are returning the total number of overlaps that need to be erased, nothing but we are returning the total, right? So here the output is how many how many times it gets overlapped, that one we have to this one display in that one we have to return, right? So the output is 1. So here I'll just come, let me return total. So we are returning the total number of overlaps. We have to return the number of overlaps, right? That needs to be erased. So the number of overlaps that needs to be erased in this case is 1, right? So let me format the code once and hit the submit. Runtime error. What happened? Oh, I have misspelled here. Just give me a second. Where is this? This has to be intervals. Intervals I have. So yeah. Let me hit the submit again. So yeah, this code works absolutely correct, right? So next what I'll do, I'll just take the example 1 and let's see step-by-step execution, right? So let's consider this example. Example 1 we are considering, right? So according to the code, this one. So we are taking the initial input, this one, right? 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4 and 1, 3. So first what we will do, we'll sort the intervals by n time. So this one will be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. So this will be 1, 2, comma. Sorry, I'll just give 1, 2, 1, 3 and 2, 3 and 3, 4, right? 2, 3 and final one will be 3, 4 after sorting. So we are sorting this one with the ascending order, right? This one with this one, this one with this one. So 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3 and 3, 4. So after sorting, the sorted intervals are 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3 and 3, 4. So for this example, next what we will do, we'll initialize the variable, nothing but total to 0. So this step we are coming. So these two things are over. Then we'll come here. So this one we are ignoring because we are having the length of the intervals here. Length of the intervals is not undefined, right? So we are having the intervals. So what we are doing, we are ignoring this step. So we completed this step. Now let's come here. Let's initialize the total to 0 and previous to intervals of 0. So total equals 0. Just to count the number of overlaps that needs to be removed. And we will set the previous to 1, 2. Nothing but this one, 1, 2. We are setting the previous to 1, 2. Now the previous is 1, 2 as we know. So previous is 1, 2. So the previous is 1, 2. We are setting here previous to intervals 0. Intervals of 0 is nothing but 1, 2 itself, right? Now we are setting the previous to 1, 2. Let's come to the step 4. Nothing but we are looping through the intervals. Now this one, we are looping through the intervals, right? First iteration, what happens? We will move, we will start with I equals 1 as per the code, right? The second element, this one, 1, 3. We are not starting with I equals 0. We are starting with I equals 1. So we are comparing the previous 1, 2 with the next interval 1, 3. Nothing but we are comparing 1, 2 with 1, 3. We will start from the 1, 3 and we will compare this one with the previous. Nothing but we are comparing 1, 2 with the next interval 1, 3. Since previous of 1 is greater than intervals of 1, 0. Nothing but 2, this one. Here you can see this 2, previous of 1, this one, sorry. This 2 you can see here. 2, sorry, just give me a second. Here, this one, this 2, sorry. 2 is greater than 1, right? We are comparing previous of 1 greater than intervals of 1, 0. Nothing but this 2 we are comparing with this one. So 2 is greater than 1. So what happens here? Sorry, just give me a second. Somewhere I'm going wrong. So I'm considering this one, right? We have to consider this array. So sorry. Just ignore this one. Till now what I've said for this one. We have to consider this one, right? So sorry. We are considering the previous one greater than intervals of 1, 0 is nothing but previous of 1 is nothing but 2. We are comparing 2 with 1. Nothing but 2 greater than 1 or not. Here 2 greater than 1. 2 and 1 we are comparing, right? So 2 is greater than 1, so they overlap. So we are incrementing the total by 1. Now the total is 1. Total is 1 now. So we do not update the previous because 1, 2 finishes earlier than 1, 3. So 1, 2 is finishing earlier than 1, 3. So we will not update the previous. So this is what happens in iteration 1. Let's come to the iteration 2. I equals 2. Now compare the previous 1, 2, this one, previous 1, 2 with 2, 3. 1, 2 will, now this will not be there. Now only 1, 2, 2, 3 and 3, 4. So compare the 1, 2 with 2, 3. So previous 1 less than or equal to 2 of 0. Nothing but we are comparing 2 is greater than 2 or not. This 2 we are comparing with this one. 2 is greater than 2? No. 2 is equals to 2, right? So they do not overlap. We are updating previous to 2, 3. Now previous will be 2, 3 itself. So now previous will be 2, 3 itself. So we will update the previous to 2, 3 now. So now this will not be the previous. So they do not overlap. So since they do not overlap, we will update the previous to 2, 3. Now the previous is 2, 3. Next we will come to the iteration 3. Here we will compare the previous 2, 3 with 3, 4. This one with this one. Previous of 1. Again we will come to this step. Previous of 1, nothing but sorry, this one 3 is greater than or equal to 3. So 3 is equal to 3, right? So they do not overlap. So 3 is less than or equal to 3. So they do not overlap. So here it is not, 3 is not greater than 3, right? In simple terms, according to this, 3 is not greater than 3. 3 is equal to 3. So they do not overlap. We will be updating the previous to 3, 4. And the total remains 1 here, right? Total remains 1 in the second step as well. Now we are updating as they do not overlap in the third iteration as well. This will be, we will update the previous to 3, 4. Previous to 3, 4. And total remains 1 itself in the third iteration as well, right? So here the loop completes and we will return total equals 1. We are returning the total. So here we can see the total will remain 1 itself, right? So when we return the total will be 1 itself. So the total we got here is 1 basically according to the code, and the output that we have got here is 1 as well. So the code works absolutely correct, meaning that we need to remove only one interval to make the rest non-overlapping. Which one? That is this one, 1 comma 2 and 2 comma 3. So this one, right? So yeah, we need to remove one interval to make the rest non-overlapping. So what we did, basically the interval 1 comma 3, this one here I have got it, this one, this 1 comma 3 can be removed. Why this can be removed? Basically it is overlapping with 1 comma 2. If you remember in the first step I have said, after removing 1 comma 3, the remaining intervals now the remaining intervals were 1 comma 2 and 2 comma 3 and 3 comma 4, right? So these are non-overlapping. These are completely non-overlapping. So we are returning the total, and the total we got here is 1, and the output is also 1. So the code works completely correct. So let me delete this one. So what will be the time complexity and the space complexity? Here the overall the time complexity, first one, this one, sorting, we can see here the sorting step takes big of n log n. We know big of n log n time, which dominates the overall time complexity. Nothing but big of the overall time complexity would be big of n log n, but the subsequent loop, nothing but this one, for loop, this one runs in big of n time, right? This one takes big of n, and the sorting is big of n log n, this one, and the sorting is over this one, dominating the overall time complexity. Nothing but overall time complexity would be big O of n log n. So what will be the space complexity? The algorithm is using the constant amount of extra space, nothing but big O of 1. Simple. So let me comment here. Let me hit the submit. So yeah, this works absolutely correct. So this is it. Thanks for watching, guys.